Hey, come here. You like pro wrestling? We got a little something for you. Two fans, 3,000 miles away. We each been watching for more than 30 years. Celebrating the art form, the action, the homoeroticism. We ain't rating matches. We ain't analyzing stories. We ain't experts. We just sit down, shut up, and mark out! Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Sit Down, Shut Up, Mark Out, a pro wrestling podcast about pro wrestling. I'm Blade Daly, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host, the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be, the greatest Canadian pro wrestling podcaster in the history of Canadian pro wrestling podcasts. Her name, Joshi G. Joshi G, hi.
Kenny!
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 Kenny! He's back!
He's back. He is very back. He's very back. And we're going to talk a lot about Kenny Omega in this episode, so strap yourselves in, kids. This is a Kenny Omega Stan podcast. And we are going to hardcore stand. But just like Dynamite did last night, we're saving Kenny to the end. What a wild week in the world of professional wrestling, Joshi G.
I'm so tired, I Blade.
Yeah.
I need time to recover now from all the amazing wrestling that we've seen the past the past week.
Yeah. I mean, last week we were talking with Antoine about the, New Japan shows.
Yeah.
But I ended up watching Stardom's show, the pay-per-view, New Year's Dream. I watched the DDT show. And then I watched both the New Japan shows. And I watched Wrestle Kingdom and Wrestle Dynasty live. So, and I made it the whole way. I couldn't believe I could watch Wrestle Kingdom all the way through live. But I did. It was incredible. We're going to talk about the highlights of those shows because there were a lot of highlights. And pretty much everything... Every show we're going to be talking about is really just highlights because we have so much to talk about. Last week, because we did jump in so hard to the New Japan shows, and rightfully so, there's a lot we didn't get to. So should we get to it, Joshi?
Let's go right away. Hurry up.
Right fucking now. So first things first, AEW is on Max, and that is a big fucking deal. They are on the same streaming platform as HBO. They're on the same, you can watch The Sopranos and then go watch AEW Dynamite. That is wild. That is huge. That is big-ass news. Joshi, you're not saying anything. Say something!
Reason I'm not saying anything is because in Canada, we don't have HBO Max. We have Crave, which is owned by Bell, and they haven't put AEW on Crave yet, so I don't get to experience these things like you do. So I am dying inside. Is that what you want me to say? That I'm so angry? Because I want it on HBO. Well, I don't have HBO Max, but I want it on Crave, and I'm not getting my way. That's what you want to hear.
Well, actually, now that you said it, I kind of did. I think I did want to hear it. But I live in a country that matters, Joshi. So we have HBO Max.
By the way, you guys matter a lot, but we don't want to become a 51st state. Just letting you know.
Are you kidding me? Look at everything that's going on in the U.S. right now. It's awesome here, man. We're very logical people who make good decisions. But HBO started live streaming last week. They simulcasted Dynamite, which the picture quality is absolutely crazy. It looks amazing. Looks like they're filming with 4K stuff. It's just a very interesting experience. There was a lot of excitement around it with the group of people that I was texting back and forth with about it. This is kind of one of those days that I've been dreaming of for a long time, where AEW and Max would finally be one. And they are. It's pretty cool.
So have I. So have I. Damn it. Give me access to HBO Max. Ugh.
You dreamed of Crave in AEW being one, and they are not.
Why can't we just get HBO Max in Canada?
Well, that's a great question. HBO
Gosh.
Max is not available in a lot of countries still. So that I know that they are expanding. I'm sure it'll be in Canada, but I'm sure they have rights deals and TV stuff.
Yes.
So they have to wait for it to expire before they can
Stupid
bring
TSN.
Max to your country.
Yeah.
Here's something that nobody's talking about. And I don't know why. I don't know why. You know, there's the grifters in the pro wrestling media space, but there are other people who fashion themselves as some kind of reporters, and I just don't hear this. But Joshi, did you realize that Max is 3 times larger than Peacock?
Yes, I did. Do you know why? Do you know why?
I don't know why.
Because HBO freaking rules. That's why.
That is why. I mean, that is why, yes. I mean, I don't really care about numbers and stuff, but the truth is the truth. And for those that say, like, Tony Khan is a terrible business guy and doesn't understand the business, brother, he negotiated a really incredible deal for AEW. They're still on cable, and they're on Max. Max actually beat Netflix in the U.S. for new subscribers last quarter.
Yep.
I looked this stuff up. It's on Google. This is not stuff that's hard to find. And yet, I don't really hear about it at all. I don't see any of the so-called wrestling media reporting this kind of stuff. And it's weird to me. It's weird. I don't want to say the wrestling media has a bias. I think they're lazy. And I think that they get so swept up in the WWF or WWE supremacy argument, right, that they fail to look at the basics. It's funny because people will talk about, you know, AEW isn't that popular, but your SEO baiting AEW hate shit, you do it for a reason, right? It attracts a lot of people. So I think that this is finally something to counter that narrative a little bit. They are on one of the biggest streaming platforms in the world. They have a partner. They are deeply embedded with WBD in a way that WWE is not with Netflix or Peacock. So I'm really excited to see where this goes in the future.
I have a couple of comments. I have Netflix Canada and I have Crave. Crave has most of the content from Max. I can tell you right now, when it comes to television shows, Netflix is about quantity. Max is about quality. And because I have a lot of the Max shows, I can say that. The thing about Netflix is when it comes to foreign content, they're really great. I mean, I love Squid Game, for example. But I feel when it comes to the American TV shows, Max dominates them easily. Well, HBO generally does. Another thing I want to add, I think that it was smart to have a balance where you can see it on cable and on Max, right? So let's say if somebody only has cable, doesn't have Max, they can still tune in, which is great. If they would have only been on Max, imagine the older demographic. Like my father's in his 70s. He doesn't understand streaming services. So I think that's the best case scenario. You do a little bit of both. I personally don't think that wrestling should be exclusive to streaming anyway. I think that it should be on cable TV as well. So yeah, I think that's the smartest thing to do. And I have noticed that Max has been advertising AEW a lot. So that's really great for them.
It is. Well, and it puts AEW in this kind of prestigious light because they're sharing, you know, space with like Turner Classic Movies and HBO and, you know, all that stuff, right? HBO Boxing, all that stuff. So it's sharing space with all that stuff. And it's also still available where it's always been available. I think this narrative has become very clouded. Okay. So like you're measuring a medium that is in the process of dying right before us. Okay. Cable television is dying. You're measuring the popularity of something exclusively through that. Now, you look at AEW, and this is, we're not going to go on much longer about this shit. Okay. So if you don't like this, skip ahead like 2 minutes. But you look at what WWE's done, where they went exclusively to Netflix, right? And like you said, your dad doesn't, he doesn't have Netflix. He doesn't have streaming services. He's not interested, right? But he always watched Raw out of habit.
Well, he can't watch any WWE because in Canada, it's not on cable television anymore.
Right.
So all the WWE shows are now on Netflix.
Right. So internationally, all of the WWE shows are on Netflix.
Yeah.
And then in the States, Monday Night Raw is their flagship show. Monday nights at 9:00 on the West Coast or wherever is when you watch Raw, or 8:00, I guess. But like now you have to pay to watch Raw.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have to pay a separate membership to watch the pay-per-views. And you have to have cable to watch SmackDown. Yeah. WWE just made it extremely expensive to be a fan of theirs. And we kind of live in a country where the middle class is hurting a lot. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. I'm not saying they're going to fail because I don't fucking know. I'm not a fucking business prognosticator, but there's obvious downsides that really don't ever get discussed. So we'll see how it goes. It sounds like they got a lot of people who tuned in on this last Monday, but that's probably, going to be the biggest show they do for a while on Netflix. We'll see where it goes from here. But Max having AEW content, fucking awesome.
Agreed. I love it.
Speaking of last weekend, Joshi G.
Yes.
We got to get into the highlights of some of this shit, don't we?
What a weekend. Yes. Oh, my God. Let's go.
Well, somebody play the goddamn music. What do I pay you fuckers for?
Tum, 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 tum. Tum, tum.
Joshi, don't do their jobs for them, okay?
I want that person's salary. Okay.
All right, well, Wrestle Dynasty and Wrestle Kingdom were this past weekend. Two really great nights of wrestling. There's something so magical about New Japan in the Tokyo Dome.
Yeah, I agree.
You just can't beat it, kind of. Like, it's the camera setups they have there, the way that the lights are set up there. You kind of feel like you're in like almost a dream, like a wrestling dream. You really do, where it's like almost a little surreal. And I thought Wrestle Kingdom this year was the best one in a long time. There were some really great matches. There were some that, whatever. I mean, I didn't think there was anything that was bad. I just thought some things stood out more than others. So we're just going to go through the highlights of Wrestle Kingdom. I have a few here. Mayu Iwatani beat Azumi. This match only got 8 minutes and 45 seconds, which is absolute garbage bullshit. They do this to the women every time they're on Wrestle Kingdom. Last year, they weren't even on Wrestle Kingdom.
No, they weren't.
And that's bullshit, okay? Yeah. And giving these two 8 minutes and 45 seconds, that's bullshit, okay? These are two of the best wrestlers in the world, regardless of gender. And they had a 20-minute match in 8 minutes and 45 seconds without it seeming forced. They just went full tilt, sprint, and they just threw bombs at each other until Iwatani was left standing. Mayu Iwatani is still your IWGP Women's World Champion. Incredible match, Joshi.
I loved it. I wanted it to be longer. Mayu Iwatani is the best Joshi in the world right now. I'm not changing my mind about that.
Oh, I don't think it's debatable. Yeah.
And as for Azumi, keep in mind she's only 22 years old.
So crazy.
Okay. And look at how great she is. Imagine her in like 3 years from now.
Right. And they said she's been wrestling since she was 11.
Yeah.
Like she was recruited by Stardom when she was 11.
Yes.
Unbelievable.
Just a kid. She is absolutely incredible. I personally would love to see her back in AEW calling people stupid. I miss that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'd like to see her wrestle Mercedes again too.
Oh yeah. In a singles match this time.
Yes. Not a triple threat. Yeah. No, these two, they just had an incredible match. Iwatani's dragon suplex finisher. Beautiful. It's so crazy. It's one of the most beautiful moves in wrestling. It's one of the best matches of the night. It is only 8 minutes and 45 seconds. And I think in a way that's almost what makes it so good is they have like a 4.5-star match in 8 minutes. It's just incredible. El Phantasmo won the TV title in a 4-way match. Red Narita no longer has it, which means slightly less of the House of Torture, which I'm all about, quite honestly. I don't remember everybody in this match, but I had it. Jeff Cobb was in it. Oiwa. How do you pronounce his name? Oiwa? Something like that.
I think so. Yes.
Antoine did it last episode, and I can't remember exactly how he just said it, but it's something like that. They were in the match as well. It was a really good match, really fun. They built this up so that Phantasmo was almost like kind of out of your head at the finish, and then he kind of snuck in and got a sneaky pin and won the TV title. I think this was a fantastic way to give him a moment at Wrestle Kingdom in the Dome. And, you know, this is a guy who just beat cancer. And I'm a huge fan of El Phantasmo. ELP is awesome. It was a really fun match with a great finish.
I thought it was such a deserving moment. It made me smile a lot after everything that he's been through the past few months. He definitely deserved this moment. He is also my fellow Canadian. So Canadians, let's take over the world. Woo!
Definitely Canadians are the best pro wrestlers. I think we can say that now.
Thank you.
It's not even close. Like, when you think of Omega and Bret Hart and Jericho and the guy we don't talk about anymore, you know, but so many others too. I believe Mike Awesome was Canadian.
Roddy Piper.
I mean,
it's Canadian.
It's wild.
Yeah.
The depth of Canadian heritage. Owen Hart, obviously.
Of course.
The depth of Canadian heritage in wrestling is ridiculous.
It is. Christian Cage,
Adam
Copeland.
Yeah. Cope. It's Cope now.
Well, Cope. I'm coping.
Honestly, this was a match I was not looking forward to. So I understood the stipulation to be that if Evil beat Tanahashi had to retire. Somebody I was watching this match with informed me that if Tanahashi lost, he would have, it was like hair versus hair. Like he would have to retire and he would lose his hair. And I freaked out at the idea of Tanahashi being shaved bald. Okay. Like, you do not shave the ace.
No.
Okay.
He has
That's
nice
the most
hair.
beautiful, luxurious hair there's ever been in the wrestling business. And you don't shave it. And then once everybody realized my weakness and that I was going to freak out if Tanahashi got his head shaved, they all talked about him losing his hair the entire match just to torture me. And then Tanahashi pulls out a win.
Go Ace.
Yeah, go Ace. It's a plunder match. And then at the very end, the same guy who told me it was a hair match said, oh, you know what? It actually wasn't.
Oh, no.
So his hair was never on the line. I got tortured by these people, by these fucking freaks.
No offense, I bleed, but after what you did to me last week on the podcast, I can't say I feel sorry for you.
What? You don't? I expect your pity.
No.
No?
No, you made me say things to Antoine that I shouldn't have said.
Oh, I hypnotized you into saying them, right? Much mad love to Naito, and we will get to that in just a minute because it was fantastic.
Well, I do have a question about Tanahashi, though. Because I understand that this is his last year in professional wrestling, but it won't be his last year as the president of New Japan, right? Or has that not been established? Okay.
It has been established. No, it's just his last year as an active performer. That's it.
Okay, thank goodness, because I love him as the president there. Okay, cool.
Me too. Me too. Then we fucking ate good. Okay, so it was either this match or the Iwatani Azumi match, but Shingo Takagi versus Konosuke Takeshita was another short match, about 12 and a half minutes long. Two fucking behemoths just throwing bombs at each other. I likened it to like a Goldberg versus Lesnar match if Goldberg knew how to work.
Yeah.
Like just two bad motherfuckers beating the living shit out of each other until one of them went down. Shingo was the one who went down as we predicted. Your new, never open weight, heavyweight champion, Konosuke Takeshita. Unfucking believable match. Joshi.
He's taking over the entire world. I am so proud of him.
He announced at the end of the show, at the presser afterwards, he announced that he has signed a contract with New Japan. He is now under contract to DDT, AEW, and New Japan simultaneously. Unfucking believable. Make him the world champion. That's what I say.
This is the first time it's ever happened.
This is wild. This is wild shit, and I love it.
Me too.
Love it.
We love you, Takeshita.
We love you, Takeshita.
Cinnabon all the way.
And Takagi, we love you too, man.
We love you. We just love Takeshita more than you.
Oh
no, I take it back. I'm sorry. It was a bad joke. Shingo, it's not true. We love you.
He's a dragon. He's a rampage dragon.
Yeah.
He's going to rampage all over us. He's going to hold me responsible for what you just said.
I love you, Shingo. Okay.
Then the last match that I feel like is worth mentioning is Naito versus Hiromu. This was so much more emotional than I expected it to be. It was the best Naito match I've seen in ages. Naito gets the win in this match. He was going to go for the Stardust press, whatever that's called. That crazy flipping splash thing he used to do. His knees are fucked, okay? He should not be doing that move. And Hiromu literally stops him and says, please don't do that move. Like, you're going to kill yourself. Don't do the move. And then Naito hits a Dustino on him and puts him away. Like, it showed the brotherhood and the bond between these two. It showed the evolution of Naito's character because after the match, Naito put the fist in the air. When LIJ first started, Naito was a dick. Like, he had no loyalty to any of the guys in that group. He never acted that way. And then when Sonata and Evil left, they become more of a group, really. You know, at first they were a group of individuals. But you see in this match the brotherhood and the bond between Hiromu and Naito. And I loved it. I just thought it really hit me hard and showed what incredible performers both these guys are.
I thought it was a very good match as well. I was a little bit surprised that Naito didn't put Hiromu over. I guess it's going to happen sometime in the future when Naito is more of a part-time wrestler. I don't know. I was a little bit surprised, but I guess they're going to work as a tag team for a little while, so I'm okay with it. The other match I just quickly wanted to bring to everyone's attention is Tsuji versus David Finlay. I thought that was one of the best matches of the night.
It was a really good match.
Yeah, Tsuji has an amazing look. He's a great wrestler, so much potential. Finlay's a good wrestler too, don't get me wrong. Just needs a little bit more of je ne sais quoi.
He needs aura, and he just doesn't.
He doesn't have any at the moment, but Tsuji does.
Mm-hmm.
So if any of you are interested in checking out one of the newer young guys in Japan Pro Wrestling, I highly suggest that you check out Tsuji.
Absolutely, Yota Tsuji. There was other matches that happened, including the main event, which we're not even highlighting here. It wasn't a bad match by any stretch. It was too long, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But Zack Sabre Jr. is still your world champion, which I'm all about. So, moving along. Mm-hmm. Wrestle Dynasty was the next night, the first co-promoted Japanese show between New Japan and AEW and CMLL and Ring of Honor, technically.
Mm-hmm.
What a show. This could very well end up being the show of the year. in my opinion. It was that good. There's a lot of great matches we're not even going to talk about because we just don't have time. But this was a fantastic fucking show. Top to bottom, no bad matches. So the ones that didn't get mentioned, they're not bad by any stretch. You can watch this whole show. It's 4 hours long. You will not be bored, not in the slightest.
I thought it was a terrific show. I thought it was better than Wrestle Kingdom.
It was vastly superior to Wrestle Kingdom, in my opinion. And Wrestle Kingdom was a great show.
Yeah.
The matches that stood out for me, it was on the pre-show, which again, I think was bullshit, but Momo Watanabe beat Athena, Willow, and Persephone. Loved this. Athena had teamed with Tekla, who is a part of Hate, and that's Momo's group. And they were very, very brief tag team partners against Ty Mello and Mina Shirakawa on the Stardom show a few days before. And they teased tension between Athena and Tekla almost the whole way through. It's like they're too evil to be friends. And both of them. And in this match, Tekla, who could have seen this coming? Tekla cost Athena the match. Athena took the pin in this match.
I was shocked.
Tekla gave Momo her bat and she beat the shit out of Athena with it. That must be a rubber bat because that was a hard hit with the bat.
I didn't expect Athena to get pinned. I didn't expect Momo to win this match.
No.
Boy, was I wrong. So a couple of comments. First off, I am so happy that Athena is going to wrestle in Stardom again. Mm-hmm. She blends in so well with the Joshis, and I'm not surprised at all. Secondly, I've never seen Persephone wrestle before. And I have to say, I was very impressed.
I think we all were, yeah.
Yeah, she reminds me of Eddie Guerrero. I know that he inspired her a lot. It just seems like when a wrestler is inspired by Eddie, they end up being really, really freaking good. Wink, wink, Mercedes. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I thought it was a really fun match. I love Tekla. She looked really good, by the way.
She always does.
Very good-looking woman. And they had announced that Athena is going to wrestle Tekla actually in a few days. So I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, you might be listening to this after that match if you listen next, after, the weekend after we tape this. So yeah, I just really enjoyed the match. Willow was great as she always is.
Always great, Willow. Always great.
Talking with a friend, Willow is like one of the best baby faces of this or any other era. She is absolutely fantastic.
I agree with you. She's so likable.
And yet we still have so much more to talk about. So next, can't miss. This is a classic in my opinion. Mercedes Moné defeats Mina Shirakawa. Now, Mina had the Rev Pro title, women's title, but she also had a different belt that's I think more of a ceremonial title.
I don't remember what that belt was called.
I don't either. And Mercedes called her, was talking about she's a 4-belt champion. She's Mercedes 4 belts.
4 belts.
Really good match. They gave these to the time they didn't give to the women the night before. They got to tell a much more nuanced, layered story in the ring. Mina looked excellent in this match. She took the majority of the offense. Mercedes did such a fantastic job, making Mina look dominant. And Mercedes took the pin convincingly and everything, but she gave Mina 90% of this match.
I completely agree. That's why when people say that Mercedes Moné doesn't elevate others and that she's selfish, I roll my eyes, because in this match, Mina was controlling most of it. Mercedes gave her a lot. And that's not to say that Mina isn't a good wrestler. Of course she is. She's an excellent wrestler. But the fact that Mercedes is so generous when it comes to just letting her opponent beat the heck out of her, dominate the match, is very telling of her. She loves Mina. Keep in mind, they're very good friends. So I have to applaud both ladies. They both did moves that I haven't seen them execute before. So I just love that. I love that they're always changing stuff up. Mercedes is now Mercedes 4 belts, very well deserved, the new belt collector.
Yeah.
And I hope to see a rematch down the line. I felt they had very good chemistry.
And I didn't realize that was Mercedes' first match in the Dome. So
yes,
that was a huge deal for her. She said she had basically a panic attack the day of the show. I just think the world of both of these two. At the end, Mercedes looks like she feels kind of sad for Mina. She goes out to shake her hand, and Mina like gets in her face and says, "No, we're going to do this again." So I think we're going to see a rematch. This could be a rivalry that we revisit quite a few times. Would love to see Mina get a win over Mercedes at some point in the future. But for now, Mercedes is your Rev Pro champion, your New Japan Strong champion, and the TBS champion. Fantastic match. The next match I'm going to mention, Jesus Christ. Konosuke Takeshita wrestled Tomohiro Ishii. Now, Joshi, how long do you think this match was? If you had to guess.
Okay, because I remember that Takeshita versus Shingo wasn't the longest match. I think Takeshita Ishii was longer, so let me just throw a number out there. I would say somewhere between 15 to 20 minutes.
It was 15 minutes long.
Okay.
Shingo and Takeshita was 2.5 minutes shorter. And yet this match felt like it was twice as long.
Yeah.
Because so much happened in it. There was such great selling. Ishii is the master. Like, this guy can do no wrong. And they actually fooled me into thinking that Tomohiro Ishii was somehow going to defeat Takeshita for the Never Openweight and international titles. He did not. But goddamn, holy fucking shit balls, Batman. This fucking ruled. Takeshita, I saw Lyric, one of the great wrestling influencers out there, one of the only people I actually take seriously anymore, on Blue Sky, said that this next year, Kenny Omega, Will Ospreay, and Takeshita are going to be trading that best in the world tag amongst each other over and over again, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I completely agree.
Oh, yeah.
Takeshita is the fucking man. Holy shit, is he good. This weekend was he was maybe the biggest beneficiary of a lot of this weekend. So incredible stuff. Incredible stuff.
Oh, yeah. And it's evident that New Japan loves him. DDT loves him. AEW loves him. Imagine 3 promotions fighting for you. What an amazing spot to be in. I just think the world of Takeshita is one of my favorite wrestlers. I'm so happy that he's wrestling in New Japan. I saw that he's going to wrestle again, I believe, this month, actually. So
he's doing Battle in the Valley. I know that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, yeah, he'll be in San Jose this weekend.
Yeah. So I thought his match with Ishii was really strong. I personally preferred it over his match against Shingo, only because they got more time. And so obviously that does make a difference at times. Mm-hmm. You get a little bit more. So amazing chemistry between these two. Ishii is still one of my favorites. Absolutely love that man. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it was a really strong match. And I'm just so happy for Takeshita. That's all I can say right now.
The dude has gone from being, like, you remember last May, I believe it was, because it was at Double or Nothing we were reviewing it. And Mox basically beat Takeshita with one arm.
Ugh.
And we were talking like, you got to stop doing this to Takeshita. What a fucking glow up this bro has had over the last 7 months.
About time.
Unbelievable. Far past time. This guy is killing it right now. I am so thrilled to see how he's doing. The next match we're going to talk a little bit about right now, and then we're going to talk a lot about a little later. So Kenneth Jerome Omega, little known indie wrestler, who, is widely considered by Joshi and I the greatest of all time, made his comeback at a New Japan show against Gabe Kidd. And my thoughts going in were like, hey, I just want Kenny to be healthy. He's probably can't do the same stuff he used to do anymore. He might look different. He might not be as big. I think he is a tiny, tiny bit smaller, but barely. The moment his new music hit and he walked out, and the minute I saw his face walking down that ramp, that man looked like he was in heaven. He looked like he was back where he belonged in pro wrestling. And they proceeded to have what Dave Meltzer has rated a 6-star match.
Oh, nice.
It was the best match of the weekend by far. It was inspiring. It told an incredible story. I will give Gabe Kidd the fact that this match for him was all about showing that he's deeper than just this toxic dickhead he's always playing. And he did a great job of that. This match was iconic. I will never forget it. It's way up there on my list of matches I love. Really, really great match.
Oh, I mean, I completely agree with you. I'm going to say a lot more later, but when it comes to Kenny Omega, his matches are the most special to me. And it's not just his wrestling, because we know how terrific he is in the ring. It's the emotion that he shows in his matches. He's so good at selling. Mm-hmm. And this happened to me when he wrestled Will Ospreay at Wrestle Kingdom. I got emotional, and nobody else has this effect on me. So in terms of this match, yeah, of course, man, it was the match of the weekend. Kenny Omega looked absolutely fantastic. How the hell somebody goes from having diverticulitis to having one of the best matches of, the start of the year a year later? I don't understand. He's a freak of nature. I did not expect a match like that. I knew it was going to be really, really, really good, but a minimum 5-star match, wow. It's just, man, we'll talk more about Kenny.
We got so much more to say about Kenny, but Joshi, I agree with you. Needless to say, I agree with you. Kenny is my GOAT. I don't just think he's the best today. I think he's the best ever. And he proved why in this match. And we will talk a lot more about it very soon. But finally, I do want to shout out, I almost felt bad for Zack Sabre and Ricochet trying to follow this match.
Oh, yeah.
Because I felt like, how can you really? This could have the Kenny Gabe Kidd match could have main evented, and I don't think anybody would have complained. But boy, these two brought it. That was a great match that they had. The aggression from Zack was awesome. Seeing Ricochet just slide into being this slimy shitbag that he's become has been so fun. There's a moment where they're both pretty tired, and Ricochet just looks at Zack and he's like, all right, you gonna get up, motherfucker?
Oh, yeah. We were laughing at that part. You gonna get up, motherfucker?
Yeah, I mean, I was laughing, and then Zack goes, hey, you're in Japan, mate. Don't you motherfucker me. I loved the shit talk in this match because it was constant.
Me too.
It was so good. Zack wins it in like 30 minutes, I believe. Yeah. Ricochet is back in peak form. He looked awesome the whole way through, never looked gassed. I'm excited for both guys. I love Zack Sabre as the IWGP heavyweight champion. And I believe it was Neon Ghost who pointed out that this title looks uniquely good on Zack.
It does.
For some reason, it looks better on him than it looked on anybody else. I don't like the belt, but at least it looks good on Zack, the guy who's holding it right now.
I completely agree with you. iBlade, it was a fantastic match. Zack Sabre Jr. is the best technical wrestler in the world. And, he successfully defended his belt 2 nights in a row. That's the first time it's ever happened in NJPW history. So
I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah. And I believe, I believe they said it was the first time that a non-Japanese wrestler successfully defended the title at Wrestle Kingdom.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I believe, he may have been the first one to successfully defend it 2 nights in a row. I would have to verify that, but I remember hearing that. And as for Ricochet, guys, this is why, as a wrestling fan, like, look, man, like, wrestlers can go wherever the heck they want. It's not my decision, and I will support their decision no matter what. But what hurts as a wrestling fan is, unfortunately, when these wrestlers like Ricochet, they go to WWE, their style changes so much, and they're not the same wrestler anymore. So with Ricochet, I used to watch him in Lucha Underground and NJPW, and my goodness, he was just out of this world, like he says he is. Then WWE, he had to water his moves down and all that. And even I'd say when he first showed up in AEW, it took him a while to adjust. I feel he thought, okay, I need to take it easy because he was used to the WWE style. And after watching that match with Zack, this is the Ricochet that I remember from his NJPW days, from Lucha Underground. So yeah, I'm so stoked that we're getting to see him in all these amazing matches.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, I'm so excited to see Zack. He obviously is probably lined up to face Goto, who won the Rambo at Wrestle Kingdom. So I believe he will be the next world title challenger. And Ricochet looks like he has a lot on his plate, which we're just about to get to, because we're going to talk AEW Dynamite. All right. As I said, we have a lot to talk about. AEW Dynamite happened this week, as it does every week. And it was a really, really good show. I thought this was actually better than their first week on Max by quite a lot.
It was.
There was more wrestling. There was less, extensive video packages. And it just felt fresh. There was one major complaint I had that we'll get to. It started out with Will Ospreay versus Buddy Matthews. Fucking great match. When I saw this announced, I was like, oh, shit. Like, I hadn't even gotten to the point of thinking about them doing this match yet.
Mm-hmm.
And these guys went hold for hold. Excellent chemistry with each other. Lots of near falls in this one. And Ospreay predictably gets the pin on Buddy. And then afterwards, there's kind of this weird segment where Ospreay kind of says, hey, Buddy, you don't really, you and Brody, you're so good. You don't need a leader. If you ever feel like going out on your own, I think you could win a singles title if you try hard enough. And I think you could, if you ever need somebody in your corner, I'll be there for you. And I was like, what? And it came out almost immediately after that match that Malachi Black has very likely wrapped up with AEW and is done. And the House of Black presumably would be no more. What do you think about the possibility of like Buddy Matthews in a United Empire situation with Will Ospreay?
I like it. I do like House of Black, but I'm fine with a change at this point. I think Buddy deserves a huge singles push. I think Brody does as well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that the House of Black needs to continue. If they want to continue it, I would just put Julia with Brody, and that's it. But I think, Buddy in United Empire would work really well. I think it's an important change for him, and it's due time. As for the match itself, it was very strong. What a way to open the show.
Yeah.
And as for Malachi, if he's leaving, he's leaving. What are you going to do? He doesn't wrestle that much anyways. The way I see it, he has a very, very easy and flexible schedule. He gets a lot of time off. If he wants to change, cool. But to be frank, it's not like we were getting a lot of Malachi anyway. So it is what it is,
I think the situation was kind of an anchor on Buddy and Brody, honestly.
Yeah, me too.
Not that Malachi himself is, because I know they're all friends and stuff, but the House of Black just wasn't moving forward. It wasn't going anywhere. The biggest star in House of Black was honestly Julia Hart.
Mhm.
She's great. I have no problem with that. But I think it frees up. Yeah, I think keep Brody with her. You know, he's the one talking to her in all those vignettes and stuff. So keep those two together as an act. You know, this kind of like brother-sister thing almost, or a dad-daughter thing. And then let Buddy go do something else. And I would love to see Buddy be a TNT champion or an international champion. I could absolutely see him doing that. He's a great wrestler, and this match just reaffirmed how great he really is. So I think there's a possibility that there's going to be a new United Empire, and Buddy will be a part of it. I think that's probably why Will said what he said. There was a lot of good stuff on this show. Again, just the highlights. The men's casino gauntlet was this week. That was one hell of a match, Joshi. All killer, no filler. There was no like obvious pin guy, except maybe Wheeler Yuta, and he got his ass kicked by everybody in this match.
Finally.
Yes, it was pretty righteous revenge on old Wheeler Yuta. Like so many big names in this one. Jay White come out. Jeff Jarrett came out, and you kind of thought that Jarrett might win the casino gauntlet because of his little speech last week. But Wheeler Yuta attacked him before he even got down to ringside, and he never really even got in the match. Hangman was the second entrant, so him and Jay started the match. What I loved the most in this match, whose house? And everybody goes Swerve's house, and then Ricochet's music hit. And Neon Ghost, our friend Neon Ghost, swears to me that between whose house and the Ricochet music hitting, that aha is now part of the theme song for Ricochet.
Freaking Ricochet. He really fooled me because I remember Hangman was just standing in the ring. We hear whose house? I look at my husband. I said, "Oh my God." And then it's Ricochet. What a freaking jerk. He's playing the heel role so perfectly, though. This is great. I love it. I've never seen this side of him before.
No.
I love that Lance Archer and Will Hobbs threw him around.
They were like playing catch with him.
Yeah, like everybody wanted to beat him up.
Yep. Yeah, Ricochet's crushing it, and we are seeing a whole, just like Joshi said, we're seeing this entirely different side of him that I didn't even know existed. When he walked out after the Swerve thing and the fans are just like fucking booing the living shit out of him, he just like kind of raised his eyebrow at a few people, just like, haha, you like that? Like, what a prick. I mean, what a world-class asshole. Also, a lot of people are calling him Trevor, too, I noticed.
Yeah, I noticed that, too. Yeah.
Some of my friends were like, man, this is peak Trevor. And just great shit. I loved it. I loved every bit of it. And Will Hobbs gets the win. Will Hobbs was the man who secured the pinfall. He will face Jon Moxley in Cincinnati next week. That's really cool for Hobbs.
You know what? I have to say, this match was very unpredictable because
it was.
At first I thought, okay, Jay White's going to win this match. They were kind of teasing it for a while. Then when Jeff Jarrett came out, I said, oh, okay, he's going to get a title shot next week. And then he got his butt kicked. Then when Will Hobbs came out, well, he came out before Jeff Jarrett, but still, my husband thought for a minute, oh, maybe Hobbs is going to win it. And I thought so too, but then we were both like, nah, no chance. And then he wins. That was so awesome.
I know. And Mox is a huge Hobbs fan. Like, Mox is a big reason Hobbs works in AEW. And Mox wanted to, when he was the IWGP champion, he defended against Hobbs. And that's when Hobbs got hurt. And so this is almost like a make good for that whole thing. It is in Moxley's hometown. So I don't think Will Hobbs is walking out the AEW champion. That's why I didn't think Jay White would win. I'm like, I don't think they're going to do that to Jay on TV.
Right.
Or Hangman or somebody like that. But I thought maybe Jarrett. I thought my pick was Jarrett at the beginning because I thought he would win and then get massacred. But anyway, these matches are so fun. It's AEW's signature match. And next week, we get a women's casino gauntlet for the first time ever. I'm so excited.
About time.
Yeah, it's long past time.
Yeah.
past time. But God damn it, it's going to be awesome. And the winner of that gets the main event, gets the world title shot at Grand Slam in Australia.
Yeah.
So big stakes for that one. Speaking of the women, Mariah May and Harley Cameron shared a promo. And Harley is her usual hilarious self. These two are best friends in real life.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, Harley said, what if we tear it down together on Collision? And Mariah said, you suck. I'm not putting the world title on the line against you. And Harley's like, well, fine. Let's have a non-title match. Mariah's like, well, that's fine, but I'm going to kill you. And then Harley's like, yeah, and then I'm going to make you feel the wrong. And Mariah's like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah. Make you feel the wrong. And Mariah goes, what? You feel the wrath. And then she like wheels away on this little chair that she's sitting on. This woman's comedic timing is unbelievable.
She's a nut job.
She is so great. She is really getting into that Toni Storm category where it's like every time she's on the screen, you know something great is about to happen. And that's what wrestling's all about, baby. Just fantastic stuff.
Can I share one of my complaints with you, iBlade?
You sure can.
And I know you have the same one. So AEW's got to get better at balancing men and women. Because, okay, listen, we got great match after great match. You know, then we got the MJF, Jeff Jarrett, in-ring stuff going on. Then we got Copeland. Okay, that was what? Like an hour and a half of no woman. Not even a segment. I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. What am I saying? There's no excuse for that. You have a stacked roster. Could have easily showed Deanna, Anna Jay, Queen Amanada. I mean, come on, man. There's a lot of women that they could have showed in the first hour. I did not like that. That annoyed me, okay? Like, as someone that's a huge fan of women's wrestling, you got to make it more even. Like, I know the women are never going to get enough time as the men, but put something in the first hour for the women. Something, please. This has got to change. I don't understand why we're still talking about this. I really don't get it.
It's really noticeable in a different way when you have a roster this deep. Tony has put together a dream roster of women's wrestlers. And, you know, there's no Mercedes on the show. It just felt very... And then all the women's stuff was just smashed together. So, you know, it's all the women's... There's a women's segment, then a women's match, then there's no more women. And I don't want to see shows like that anymore from TK. You guys are better than this, and I demand better than this. So be better than this.
And iBlade on Collision, well, just very quick. We only got that one women's match. Toni Storm, Deanna, and that's it. And now on Dynamite, an hour goes by, no woman. I mean, come on, man. You know, what is this? Either you be consistent or give the woman their own show. Because I'm getting tired of repeating this every month, you know?
Me too. No, I think it's unacceptable. And AEW has to be better than this. It's a self-perpetuating thing. If you don't invest in the women, they won't draw. And because you're not giving them a chance to. You have to give them TV time in order to generate interest. That's the way it works. So give them TV time. It has to be more than Mercedes and Tony.
And real quick, Deanna wants more time. And she has been vocal with management. And the way that woman has been used in AEW, it's embarrassing. She deserves way better than that.
So far, not so good. No. I agree. We did get a really great women's match that was the main event of the night, match-wise. Chris Statlander beat Toni Storm and Willow. Really, really good match with these three. Great chemistry between the three. There was an amazingly hilarious spot where Chris Statlander was standing over Toni Storm, over her head, and Willow slingshotted Tony's face into the hoo-ha of Chris Statlander. And Willow then does the, like, thank you very much, you know.
That was good, yes.
That was great. Fucking fantastic match. I had Toni Storm winning because, you know, I thought she was going to be the first entrant in the Battle Royal or in the Casino Gauntlet next week. After the match, after Chris pinned Tony.
Yeah.
There was a very interesting interview after this match where Tony says to Renee, I'm just not ready yet. I'm not at that level yet. She made it sound like she's not even going to be in the Casino Gauntlet next week, which I don't believe. Not for a minute.
Timeless.
She definitely seemed like somebody who is taking it on the chin like a rookie. So I found that very interesting.
I was shocked that Stylander won. Another unpredictable outcome.
Yeah.
And yes, and I think we get Tony Storm as timeless Tony Storm in the Gauntlet match next week. One question though, because maybe it was me, I was just really tired and I didn't pay close enough attention. So this match was just for the number one spot in the Casino Gauntlet match, right?
Yep.
Okay, so Willow and Tony could still be in the match. I guess I misunderstood and thought it was for a spot in the Casino Gauntlet match.
No, it was for the number one spot.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, kind of like they did with Swerve and Jay and Roddy last week.
Okay.
Yeah, so then the moment came that so many of us had been waiting for. Was the return of Kenneth Jerome Omega on AEW Dynamite. He came out. He has new music. A lot of people love it. I'm not sure if I do because I love Battle Cry so much. People were like, oh, this music's amazing. And I'm like, yeah. I know it was like made by like a famous guy, but like Battle Cry is the shit.
I'm with you. Yeah, I want that song back.
But I'll give it a chance. Maybe it'll grow on me. So Kenny comes down. He's very thankful to be back in the ring. He, tells the crowd like, hey, look, I was in the hospital 4 different times for 4 weeks at a time over the last year. There were many times where it didn't seem like I could ever come back. And here I am. And he made sure to say, if you want something bad enough, you can have it. It'll happen. You can make it happen. This was a more personal Kenny than I can ever remember seeing. It felt like he was more at ease sharing himself as a baby face with the crowd. That's something Kenny's always had, this guardedness about him. It's why he usually works better as a heel. But this Kenny, this is top shelf babyface Kenny. It was very, very stirring speech. All of a sudden, Don Callis' ugly face is projected onto the Tron, and the entire Callis family comes out. They gang up on Kenny. It's Fletcher, Archer, and Brian Cage. Cage gives Kenny the gut punch.
Screw you.
Yeah. And I knew what was going to happen from here because there's somebody else who's had big problems with the Don Callis family, who used to have ties to the Don Callis family, just like Kenny. His name was Will Ospreay, and he ran out with a chair, ran them off. And then there was a long extended segment of them staring at each other and talking a bunch of shit. They are not buddies, but Will didn't want to see Kenny get beat down by the Don Callis family. And it was announced that Kenny will be back in the ring next week on Dynamite versus Brian Cage. That's going to be an amazing match.
Okay, so Kenny absolutely deserved that crowd reaction.
Yeah. After
everything he has been through. When Kenny isn't in AEW, I feel it. He makes AEW better. He really does. To me, he is the heart of the company.
He is.
And his promo did make me feel pretty emotional because what he went through, man, he didn't deserve that. He just seems like such a good person. I mean, nobody does, but I just feel bad for the guy. And, he had to take a lot of time off in 2022, came back. He got suspended for a bit for something. He didn't even do anything wrong. I'm not going to get into that. And we didn't get to see him for a few months. Then he's active. Everything is fine. And then this freaking stomach disease had to haunt him. It's just so unfair. So when he said they had to, remove some of his intestines.
2 feet.
And yeah, and he said that if had he not went to the doctor, if he had went to the doctor later, he could have died. You know, for sure, it made me emotional. You could tell that he went through hell last year. I got pretty emotional when he said that he had asked the doctor, "When do you think that I'll be able to start training again and get back in the ring?" And the doctor told him, "You'll be lucky if you can ever lead a normal life again." Like that hit me. You know, it's just, man, I can't imagine what he went through last year. So it was just so nice to see him back. He seemed so happy. Unlike the Japanese audience that booed him, I don't understand. That really bothered me. The audience in Tennessee gave him a really amazing reception. I liked how he remained positive and that he told everyone, you know, if you really believe in something, you have to go after it and that you can get better. Very inspiring words. Of course, I lost my shit when Dawn came out, little troublemaker, and then freaking Cage, I hate you. But I did like that Ospreay came out. Like once Fletcher came out, I said, yeah, okay, Ospreay's gonna help Kenny. And I would be okay with seeing, you know, Ospreay and Kenny team up for a few matches. Why not? I think they'd be unstoppable. I do think that they will end up being friends. Right now, of course, there's a lot of uncertainty. I didn't expect Kenny to wrestle next week. I thought that was surprising, but hey, I know the way this guy thinks. He's a perfectionist. He loves professional wrestling. He has to be in the ring. And whenever he's in the ring, he always gives 100%. And he wants to ensure that he gives us, the fans, the best match possible. And I really admire that of him. He never slacks off. I even remember when he had that death match against Moxie, the barbed wire explosion match? And unfortunately, the explosion didn't go off, you know, the way it was supposed to. Kenny was really upset, you know, like he was so upset. He's just such a perfectionist. And, you know, we should have known that he would only come back if he could give 100%, because that's the kind of person that he is.
I think seeing Kenny come back at Dynasty and the way I felt immediately upon seeing him, just his presence is such a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
When he walked out at the end of towards the end of World's End to give Okada his belt, when he walked out to wrestle Gabe Kidd, I had no idea what I was going to see. I had no idea what he was going to do. And then Kenny Omega, as good as Will Ospreay is, as great as Jay White is, as great as Takeshita is, Kenny Omega is one of one.
Mm-hmm.
He's the only guy built like Kenny Omega, okay? And he is the Michael Jordan of this era of pro wrestling. And look, you can have your favorites, right? Like, Kenny may not be your favorite, but I remember a few years ago saying Kenny Omega is my favorite wrestler and thinking like he's really climbing that list of all time, to today where I'm like, there is nobody who's ever been like this guy.
No.
He's the greatest of all time. I really believe it. And Kenny Omega, I want to see, I really hope Tony Khan has learned this lesson. My biggest criticism of AEW in the time they've existed, that I feel you can fairly criticize, is not pulling the trigger on big matches when you could have.
Yep.
Because his plan is for this or that or this or that. Injuries happen. These guys are on a limited shelf life. A wrestler like Kenny Omega, especially at this stage of his career, could only be around for a short time. I want to see all of the big Kenny matches. I want to see Jay White. I want to see Hangman Page again. I want to see Ospreay again. They're definitely going to do that again. I want to see Kyle Fletcher, Swerve. I want to see Moxley again. I would love to see Kenny be the one to dethrone Moxley. MJF again.
Yeah.
You know, Darby. Like, do these big matches. Samoa Joe. Like, do them. Adam Cole versus Kenny would be great. Yeah. So now's the time. Do it. But this year, and until he starts really slowing down, Kenny Omega is AEW. Okay? He was the biggest draw for me. When I knew that they had Kenny Omega, that's when I knew AEW was my promotion. Okay? That was the biggest draw for me as a fan. For him to come back and have the match he had with Gabe Kidd, for him to look like he had just been in a horror movie, for him to get around as well as he did, do those crazy table spots, all of that stuff, take the bumps he took. Kenny Omega is the greatest of all time. I cannot tell you, he is the closest thing to a hero that I've ever had in an athlete. I don't really believe in heroes, but Kenny's about as close as they come. And I'm so happy he's back.
Yeah, me too. I'm so stoked. When I thought that I was done with professional wrestling, and I tuned into New Japan Pro Wrestling back in 2018 for the very first time, the wrestler that stood out the most to me was Kenny Omega. Mm-hmm. And the more that I watched him wrestle, the more I thought, oh my God, this guy, I've never seen someone like this before, ever. And I became a huge fan very quickly. And when I had heard that he was going to be in AEW, I told myself, okay, you're going to be watching AEW and NJPW, because first, well, NJPW, I had loyalty to it. I mean, they made me love wrestling again. But of course, with AEW, Kenny's going to be there. And Kenny's probably going to show up in New Japan again anyway. I mean, listen, when NJPW and ROH had announced their show in Madison Square Garden, I bought tickets far in advance, thinking that Kenny was going to be there. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. But I did get to see him. I got to see him 3 times. No, 3 times or 4 times. No, 3 times last year. Listen, I wouldn't fly to Winnipeg, Manitoba for just anybody. Okay? My husband and I did it to see him. You know, AEW hadn't been to Montreal yet. We didn't know when they were coming. And we were like, okay, we really need to see Kenny. Like, we were waiting to see him for years. So finally, it happened. I would not do that for just anybody. Like, that's how much Kenny Omega means to me as a wrestler. He reignited my love for professional wrestling. He makes me feel things that other wrestlers don't in his matches. He's so good at playing with our emotions and convincing us that he's actually hurt. After his match with Gabe Kidd, his backstage comments affected me, because when he mentioned, I can't believe you guys booed me, as in the Japanese audience, I thought, yeah, like, that pissed me off too. And I just wanted to tell him I would never boo you. But obviously I know he was a character, but he's so good. You know, what is that bloody face? And, you know, and talking about how he lost his friends, he's lost family, and he's, you know, he's swearing. I just stare like, oh my God, my heart is breaking. And he does this to me. And I love that, because I don't feel there are a lot of wrestlers that know how to connect with the audience emotionally in matches, and that's not their fault. Like, I get it. But when someone is able to do that, it makes such a huge difference. Don't you think, I bleed?
It does. Well, and I think that at the end of the day, you know, people will talk about, you know, the people who don't watch Kenny's matches, who hate on him for no reason, will say he does a bunch of moves and stuff. It's like, no. No. Kenny's one of the greatest storytellers this business has ever seen. Look at the story he told with Ospreay. Mm-hmm. You know, that Will wasn't good enough. Look at the story he told with Hangman. Kenny is one of the great storytellers in this business. And he is he understands every facet of the art that he's an artist in, and yeah, I mean, look, Kenny's your favorite. Kenny's my favorite. Okay. I'm so happy he's back. And I'm so happy that we will be back here next week talking about his match with Brian Cage. I can't wait to see Kenny back in AEW in the ring next week.
I have two last things that I want to say quickly. When it comes to Kenny, I could talk about him all day. Another thing that's really appealing about Kenny is that he genuinely seems like a really good person. And you never hear about backstage altercations with Kenny Omega. I mean, the whole incident that happened a few years ago, he tried to freaking save a dog, okay? But so just in general, you never hear anything negative about him. I've never seen or heard anyone say that he's a jerk or anything along those lines. People always have really nice things to him. And lastly, I do hope that someday I will get the opportunity to tell Kenny how much he means to me. Hopefully he listens to our podcast one day, or we get to meet him and we can tell him how he has impacted us in such a positive way. That's all.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This is a guy who recognizes the power of pro wrestling and what it can do and how it can inspire people. And he just, I don't know, he's like the Willy Wonka of pro wrestling, man. Like, there's something just magical about the guy. So we will continue the saga of Kenny Omega. And I'm so happy that it's continuing, truly and honestly. I would hate to have seen his career end on such a sour note. But it didn't, and neither are we, friendos, because next week we'll be back. We'll be talking Dynamite. We have some big stuff coming up very, very soon that we are very excited to tell you about. It's a big surprise. So hang out for that. It's happening very soon. But until then, I'm Blade Daly.
I'm Joshi G.
Pro Wrestling Forever.